Test, 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 test. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Test, test, test. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Testing. 1, 2, 1, 2. Testing, 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 testing.
Mayor, thanks for inviting us. We appreciate it very, very much. We're going to talk about a new partnership today between the city and the state of Ohio in regard to lead pipes. Over the last several years, Ohio has really put significant focus on the problem of lead pipes. More than a century ago, when lead pipes were installed all across the United States, no one really knew the dangers that we know about today. We now know that exposure to lead can cause serious damage to the brain, but this is particularly true with younger children under the age of 6. Even low levels of lead can lower a child's IQ, cause attention disorders, delay growth, impair hearing, and more. Over the years, through both the Ohio EPA and our H20hio program, we've worked to help communities remove lead service lines, investing millions to help communities locate and remove more than 16,000 service lines across the state of Ohio. This includes launching targeted programs specifically to remove lead service lines connected to licensed child care facilities. We've done this in different parts of the state, and we're announcing today a $500,000 H20hio grant from the Ohio EPA. Columbus will remove and replace the lead pipes that are bringing drinking water into nearly 30 licensed daycare facilities. We have a lot of these pipes around the state. We're working to replace them, but in doing that, we obviously have to prioritize. And when we know that we have children under the age of 6 that are getting this water, that has to be, certainly one of our main priorities. This funding will also help the city survey the other 100-plus area child care centers whose pipe composition is simply unknown at this point. Frankly, record keeping has not always been great. So there are hundreds of thousands of pipes all over the state of Ohio that we need to physically dig up to even determine what they are made of. If any other lead service lines are found at these child care facilities, those lines will be prioritized, removed, and replaced using this funding. I do want to stress that even if a facility does have lead pipes, the risk right now is relatively low. Water treatment has come a long way. So there are processes now employed by cities such as Columbus to prevent lead from getting into the drinking water. But proactively removing these pipes is still very important. The only way to be fully sure that lead won't enter drinking water in the future is to get these pipes out of the ground. These pipes are, in a sense, a kind of a ticking bomb that at some point they will start to really corrode, and that's when they become dangerous, and no one really knows at what point that occurs. Very proud to partner with Mayor Ginther on this project. He and I have worked on a number of projects over the years. I'm sure, Mayor, we're going to continue to work on others in the future. Now, let me turn it over to the Mayor.
Thank you, Governor. Appreciate you. Good morning and welcome to the City of Columbus. Governor, it is great to have you here on such an exciting day. There's, in my humble opinion, there's not been a more pro-child, pro-family governor in our state's history than Governor DeWine, and today's announcement is another example of that. So thank you, Governor. And I want to thank the Ohio EPA Director, who we'll hear from in just a moment. I want to recognize our Water and Power Director, Kristen Atha. Director, thanks for all your great work, and the team at the department for all that they do. And I want to thank Governor DeWine and the Ohio EPA. We've mutually committed to protecting the health and safety of every family in Columbus. Many years ago, people used lead or galvanized service lines to move water because those materials were durable and didn't rust. But science revealed that those desirable qualities are a poor trade-off for the health effects that could be caused if lead is able to leach into the water. Columbus puts our customers' health and safety first and treats the water to prevent lead from entering it. But let me be clear. The City of Columbus takes enormous pride in delivering dependably clean, healthy water to the residents and businesses in the region. Regardless of service line material, our water is safe to drink, as the governor talked about. Columbus Water and Power Department meets in or exceeds all state and federal requirements for lead in drinking water, including the U.S. EPA's lead and copper rule. But the presence of lead service lines carries a risk, so we're proactively replacing those lead service lines citywide. We will continue to do everything in our power to ensure that every family, every child, and every neighborhood in Columbus has safe, clean, reliable water. This new Ohio EPA grant builds on the lead service line replacement program that we launched last year, and it keeps us on track to replace all of those lines in Columbus by 2037. This money will help us replace the old lines even faster than we were. So thank you, Governor, and thank you, Director, for your investment and partnership. This speeds up our work to remove every lead and galvanized service line in this city, focusing on the places where kids learn and play. As a father, I know there's nothing more important than keeping our kids safe. As Dr. Roberts from Columbus Public Health will attest, for young children, as the governor said, lead is very dangerous because their nervous systems are more sensitive to the toxic effects. The grant will allow us to prioritize the replacement of old lead lines for free at any licensed daycare served by Columbus Water and Power, including home-based providers. And if a child care facility has an unknown service line, we'll check it, verify it, and replace it if needed. No red tape, no runaround. So for daycare operators in Columbus, if you want to check your service line material, we've made it simple. Just visit the City of Columbus website and search for service line inventory. If your facility is listed as unknown, you'll see instructions there on how to report your information through a short online survey. Thank you for being here today. Thank you, Governor. And it is my pleasure to introduce the Ohio EPA Director, John Logue, for additional comments. Director?
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. Thank you to Governor DeWine and Mayor Ginther here at the City of Columbus for hosting us. What we're celebrating today is important. It's important for the City of Columbus, the families who live here, and especially for the daycares that serve our youngest Ohioans. This work aligns with what H20hio, Governor DeWine, and Ohio EPA are doing across Ohio every day to improve the lives of children and their families and support healthy and thriving communities. The work underway in Columbus is a proactive step, as the mayor said, and a vital one. You heard the governor say the water here is safe. You heard Mayor Ginther say the water here is safe. I want to repeat, the water here is safe. By replacing these lead service lines now, the city is ensuring it stays that way. This eliminates any future concerns about lead or galvanized lines and gives our daycares peace of mind for years to come. Since 2019, Ohio EPA, through the H20hio initiative, has invested more than $9 million for lead service line projects across Ohio. These dollars help water systems identify and inventory lines and provide the help needed to remove and replace them once and for all. Of that funding, more than $2 million has gone specifically to daycare and child care centers across the state, locating and replacing these lines. These targeted investments continue to help communities across Ohio make real, measurable progress in removing lead from drinking water systems and ensuring families have access to safe, reliable water every single day. Thank you again for being here. Governor?
John. Very much. Happy to take any questions.
Across agencies, H20hio saw pretty significant. Across agencies, H20hio saw pretty significant cuts in the biennial state budget, and the EPA has the smallest budget line for the next 2 years. why prioritize this program and why Columbus?
This is something that we're doing in other communities across the state. We prioritize this program specifically because of daycare centers. We know these kids are basically under 6 years of age. We know under 6 is the most vulnerable age in regard to lead. Again, I'll emphasize, I would describe these lead pipes where they exist as sort of a problem that will occur at some point in the future. We just don't know when. Maybe a long time from now, but we must continue to work on replacing these so that those problems don't occur later on. But if you're trying to prioritize, seems to be a logical place. If you look at the number of lead lines across the state, there's a lot of them still there. I mean, a lot of them. And so it's going to take you heard the mayor talking about their long-term plan. It's going to take a number of years to get this done.
Need federal funding in order to accomplish not only lead lines removed from daycares, but also from every other home that's in the city.
Well, federal funding is, it goes from budget to budget. We can't count on what kind of money will be available. So I don't know, John, whether you have anything about federal funding, but obviously we can't predict what the next Congress will do and what the next budget will be.
Thank you, Governor. So the H20hio funding, I would describe it as a piece of the puzzle. So there are other funding sources available from the state, from the federal government, and at the local level. We also administer a number of revolving loan funds through the federal government, the water supply loans, wastewater treatment, et cetera, that we work with Columbus and communities across Ohio all the time to find those things that will fit their projects and the work they need to do. So this is not the only source of funding for replacing lead service lines in Ohio. It's one we directly administer and have that control at the agency over through the H20hio, but it is by no means the extent of the funding that's available across Ohio.
Is the 2037 timeline, is that just for daycares or is that for the entire project?
It's for everything. Yeah, it's for the entire city. Our hope is, with the governor's help and the director's help, daycare centers and home care providers will go to the front of the line because, quite honestly, the children in their care are the most vulnerable.
Yeah, I have an off-topic, Governor.
You just walk in?
I've been here. I was in the back.
Oh, okay. I just didn't spot you. I thought maybe you missed the whole press conference. The mayor and I could repeat it if you.
But I was here. I was actually the first one here. So
I apologize. Go ahead. Yes, off topic is wonderful. Go ahead.
So when it comes to the governor's race, you have not endorsed yet. Tim Ryan just said today that he's not going to challenge COVID-era health director Amy Acton. Do you have any thoughts on that, and why have you not endorsed Vivek Ramaswamy yet?
That's coming very soon.
The endorsement?
Yes, soon.
So you are endorsing him?
Not announcing today, but it's coming very soon.
Can I ask you about some of the bills that were just recently passed in the GA?
Yeah, I'm probably not going to tell you anything, but go ahead.
Fair enough. Give it a shot. So lawmakers passed, I think at this point, like 8 property tax bills. They also passed a measure that will change the deadline for absentee ballots. I mean, to the extent that you've been watching those, do you think that they make a positive impact? Do you think that the property tax things are going in the right direction? Do you think cutting the deadline for absentee ballots is a good idea?
Well, I'm not going to really talk about what I'm going to do with any of those bills today, but what I will say is that, we put a working group together. It was a diverse group. It was a group that we charged with coming up with solutions where there's no great solutions, frankly, no matter what we do. We want to supply money. We want to make sure our schools are adequately funded at the same time. We know that there are people who are really hurting in regard to the real estate taxes. So I'm going to judge the bills based upon what the recommendations were and how aligned they were to those recommendations from the committee. I mean, the committee came up with, I would call, compromises. This is a part of our process. That's not a bad word. They came up with what they thought was best. I think the committee did a very good job. If you look at each one of the recommendations of the committee, there's some I don't like, but again, in our system of government, we have to try to figure out how to get something that actually accomplishes something and improves the status quo and deals with the two big challenges that I talked about. So I'll judge those bills based upon what the committee came up with, and in a few days we'll have some comments about it.
Vivek Ramaswamy has previously made comments about how climate change is a hoax.
I'm not going there today.
Well, I mean, you're here to talk about lead pipes. We're talking about how it impacts kids. We have the director of the EPA here. Are you worried that with your concern for children that the next governor might not have that concern?
I'm not going to answer that today.
Can you answer it ever?
How do you describe your response to the state and the city response to SNAP when it was almost not going to be paid? How the state responded and how the city responded?
Okay, do that again. So I'm sorry. How do I do what?
Response to SNAP, that's the food stamp, when the government was shut down, right? The state came up to want to support, and the city came up to want to support. So when you look back, how would you describe the responses of the state and the city at the same time?
Well, I think the challenge that local government faced and the challenge that the state faced is we didn't know what was going to happen. And we didn't know how long the government was going to be shut down. We didn't know how long, for example, the SNAP benefits would be cut off. So we had to, and when you make a decision, there's a few days until that money can actually flow. So what we ended up, as you know, what we ended up doing with SNAP is, as soon as we got some information from the federal government that we could start releasing money, we started releasing it. And they started at about 65%. Then a few days later, when the government opened it, the instructions we got back is that we could fill that in with 100%. So we did that just as fast as we could. We also, targeted cash assistance. Some Ohioans below the 50% poverty level. It's about 57,000 children who that family gets some cash assistance. We started by doing it by week. We did the first week of that cash assistance. Then it appeared that SNAP was going to be fully made up, and so we stopped it after a week. So again, it's a juggling. We're trying to figure out how to do this, and focus on those who are the most in need. That's what we're trying to do. How do we help, particularly the children who are most in need? And that's what we did. And in addition to that, as you know, we came up with money that went directly to our food banks around the state of Ohio. And so we obviously have not pulled that back. We don't intend to pull it back. That money went out. The full amount went out. And so the food banks do have that money to work with now for a while.
So this morning we had a fatal shooting downtown. Can you address safety in the city?
Yeah, as you know, Kevin, downtown is one of the safest places in our city when you look at all the statistics, but one homicide is too many. And even though we're seeing the lowest level of homicides in this city since 2007, which is something that makes me very proud of our Division of Police and the community. The governor's been part of that too, because he invested $1 million in recruitment that has helped us. We currently have one of the largest police classes at the academy that we've had since the pandemic, and some say in decades. So the comprehensive approach that we're taking is seeing great results. One homicide is too many. We want to be the safest big city in America. We're making great progress, but we're not there yet.
Will the STEM schools be included in this line environmental action that you're taking with the schools? Will the schools be included in this investigation, i.e. specifically STEM schools? Will they be included and allowed to do the investigations of the lines?
So this initiative is specifically for licensed child and daycare centers here in the city of Columbus that we announced today. Some of the prior investments that I talked about earlier have been mapping all of the lead service lines across the state of Ohio. So we've completed the vast majority of that work, working with all the water systems, and now it is just a matter of funding and prioritization. So we have a pretty good handle on where the lines are in many cases, not 100%. So there are still a number of unknowns out there, but it's part of the ongoing effort that, again, we're involved in, but really at the local level, it's happening across the state every year. So the goal is, and what we're all working toward, is to have no lead service lines in Ohio at some point in the not too distant future. So schools are part of that, residences are part of that, businesses are part of that. Everywhere pretty much in Ohio that has a water system, there's likely a lead line in there somewhere, but we're working across the state to replace them all.
Earth science classes, for example, our earth science classes and our STEM classes are asking the students to get more involved, and so that's the reason I'm asking the question. Would they be encouraged to reach out to these organizations to make sure that they're part of those investigations?
So maybe we could talk about what people can do to make sure that the water that they're receiving is okay. I don't know, Mayor, if you want to do it, or John, you want to do it. Yeah, because that's important.
Absolutely. So all of the water systems are doing, thank you, Governor, are doing testing annually on lead levels in their water to make sure that they are meeting all those federal and state standards. I think in regard to your STEM question about students who might be interested in these topics, yeah, please, I'll give you my card when we leave. We work with a lot of schools around the state. We have staff that are engaged with STEM activities, again, across Ohio. So great opportunity for us. If we've got folks out there and our young students that are interested in these topics, we can find a way to work with them, absolutely, 100%. So thank you.
I'd like to sign House Bill 247, the dangerous dog bill.
Which bill? I'm sorry.
House Bill 247, the dangerous dog bill.
Dangerous dog.
Yeah, I've not looked at that. Look, we've seen the tragedies, so we know there's a serious problem. I'm not looked at the language yet, but I'm certainly going to look at that. So.
Think of where the legislature landed on marijuana and hemp. Do you think they went far enough? Didn't go far enough?
Well, my position, I think you know what my position is on this. I believe it's dangerous. I think the evidence is abundantly clear. So I have a serious problem with the hemp that's hyped up and many times is designed to look like candy, get kids to take a look and to consume it. I mean, we've seen the emergency room visits go up dramatically. So I think everybody kind of knows my position on it. So my position has not changed on it. So.
Governor, is there more the state legislature could be doing in regard to lead pipes, and what would that be?
It's really a question of money. I mean, literally, it's a question of money. How much money do we have? And how much money are we going to focus on lead? We also, frankly, have a problem. I don't want to get off topic, but it's certainly related. Is lead in homes, and that remains a problem. And frankly, we're not putting enough resources into that. I think what you can say with the lead with pipes, at least there is a plan, and it's going to take a number of years to accomplish what we want to. All of us, I think, would like to see that time sped up if we could do that. And so, if you look at the H20hio, what we started with H20hio was worrying about Lake Erie. We still worry about Lake Erie. We still work on that. But we've used some of the money for wetlands, but the real focus remains on quality of the water, and this is part of it. So it's a question of money. If we have more money, we can do more.
And then as a follow-up, you said, and a lot of these programs with H20hio, they're going to take a number of years to realize the effect. How do you convince a future administration, future legislatures, and you're coming to the end of your term, that this is a worthwhile thing to keep going?
I'll be doing a lot of talking, and that's all I can do. Look, I mean, I think if you look at H20hio, it has been highly successful in every aspect of it. We can show significant progress in regard to the algae bloom or the nutrients going into Lake Erie. We know what works on that. We know replacing lead pipes is the right thing to do. We know doing all the other things that we have done with our farmers, the things that we have done with wetlands and building wetlands, we know that those have great benefit. So all these things have significant benefit, and I think we've already shown that. So I would hope that with what we've demonstrated, that these programs will be continued. I think it's very important for the state.
Mayor Andrew Ginther, earlier this week, a gentleman by the name of Victor Smith was sat outside of CPD headquarters experiencing a priority 2 mental disturbance, mental health episode before he finally admitted to a CPD dispatcher he had murdered somebody. That is when officers finally responded to that call. I'm asking if your office is reviewing this case since protocol apparently was not followed.
Yes, and we take this situation very seriously and working to investigate to get to the bottom of it. And as you know, I have a pretty strong commitment to continuous improvement. If things that we can do better, we will.
And one last thing for the governor. Hello. You talked about hemp and how you're glad that, or you want it to be banned for kids, you don't want it to look like candy. That is what the lawmakers did. They said that all intoxicating hemp was banned except for those THC drinks that liquor license holders and breweries could have. Is that what you wanted?
I'm reviewing the bill. I don't have more to talk about it in the future.
You always say future soon.
Oh, you eventually get the answer, don't you? Well, usually. Good point. Thank you all.